Good morning. Okay, so we've got 12 of us on here, and I'm hoping a couple more of us join. Let's see. So everybody can see me? Yes. Okay. So this morning, I've been trying to get us in here on Classroom. Hopefully next time, maybe it'll go a little smoother. I'm using a different computer this morning. I tried to load it before I walked into class this morning, and it just didn't cooperate with me right away. So, but we'll get the hang of it here. I want to hear from you, so we're going to have some things that we're going to talk about that I am hoping that you guys will be able to chime in with me on. I am going to ask that you use your raise your hand feature if possible. If we don't see you, you can always just unmute and share. You don't have to necessarily wait to be recognized if there is a break in the conversation. I feel like you guys are old enough, mature enough to know how not to talk over someone else, so you'll be fine. I am on this little Chromebook, so it's harder than on the computer for me to see everybody all the time. I can see you part of the time, but I can't see you all the time. It kind of stinks, but anyway, and hey to everybody at home, I'm glad you're here. Okay, we are recording this as well. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to you all about, yesterday I talked to this class about this, and I just want to reiterate for those at home, we've got to get to a point where we get almost everybody in these meets, because I will tell you that at SCC during this virtual time, there's been several students. I talked to a couple people over there the other day who have failed because they've not been coming to their classes, and they have a requirement of, through a semester, once you miss the 6th class, you fail. We spoke with Mr. Braun, spoke with SCC, and came to an agreement with them that with our dual credit class, that we wouldn't have those same policies right now, but those have been the policies at PC with dual credit in the past, because we don't set Pulaski County High School does not set the policies for English 101 and 102. The policies are set by SCC because this class is being offered from SCC. I want to reiterate that, although you may have seen me as an English teacher here in school, and I do teach high school classes too, I had to apply to SCC and become a part of their faculty. I'm actually a part of their faculty to be able to teach this class. And so I'm bound by those rules, and it's kind of hard sometimes for me because, I've always been used to taking late work, and I'm always feel bad for somebody if they've had a rough time or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, let's do this, but we can't do that in the college class. So I say all that just to say that first trimester, we started the year with, okay, everyone's required to come to class. And then Mr. Richardson had felt like that because students, when we went virtual, did not have a choice about being virtual, he wanted to see if SCC would allow a little bit of lenience on that. But I will tell you that first trimester, most of my students came to every live meet. I only had 3 or 4 students each live meet who would not come to class. And I'm not saying that as I need people to be there because I get lonely and I need to be comforted. It's not like that. But it's just that we don't do as well when we don't work together and we don't have that one-on-one instruction. And I told this group yesterday, the group that's in person here that I've seen a difference. I mean, I have realized just how important that is, because the writing first trimester and the writing this trimester is just not the same. And I feel like I can be honest with you about that, because you guys are like, the students in this class are just as strong students. You guys are academically just as capable as anybody that was in my first trimester 2 classes. But you're just not producing the work the quality of the work is not at the same level. I didn't even put a grade on the first summary, because, to be honest, there weren't that many that would have gotten even B's. Okay. That's why I didn't grade it, because I was going through them and I was, and I just was like, we're lost a little bit. Not that we didn't put forth valiant efforts. I mean, it's not, just an effort thing. I think we're having a hard time realizing that in college, and this is something I think that first trimester got a little quicker. They got it quicker, and you all will get it. It's just we're a few more weeks in before you're going to get it, but we're going to get this. But I think what they got a little quicker is that when you're in college and the teacher assigns, like, read these 3 pages, follow these steps specifically. Like in high school, if the teacher doesn't actually talk it through and walk it through with you, you kind of just, you're not really going to pay much attention to it, right? You're not going to pay much attention to the text. But in college, the teachers are not going to talk it through with you. They're just not. If they say, read this page to this page and follow these steps, they assume that you can do it. And so I think a lot of people either completely ignored some things I've asked you to read, or maybe glanced at it and was like, oh, well, okay, I got this. And, I've done summaries forever, for example. Well, yeah, you have, but you've done summaries that were age appropriate. In high school, we're not going to require the same kinds of things that are required in college. And so we just have to, in our brains, we really have to make the distinction. I am in a college class. And let me also bring up this little tidbit. You need an A or a B in this class, because if you get, whatever grade you make is following you to college. You've already got something on your transcript. And that was by choice. No one was forced to take this class. No one had to take this class. It was a choice. So you chose to go ahead and be a college student, right? You chose that. Well, if you make a D in this class, if you make an F, that grade's falling you. But I'm going to tell you, we can withdraw somebody with just a W on their card up till, I think, 2 weeks before the trimester is over. I'm pretty sure that's still right. I'll make sure. So if I see somebody's failing, I'm going to say, you need to withdraw. You got to get out. You got to get out now, because if you don't, you're going to have an F to start college. And that GPA doesn't reset every year. It is your college GPA. So we don't want that, number one. Number two, if you get a D, guess what? The college will not give you credit for a D. So, for example, if you have a D in English 101 and you go to just about any other every college that I've ever heard of, you take it to college and you have a D on your transcript, that D is affecting your grade point average. However, they will not they'll make you retake English 101 because they will not accept a D. So you'll still have the GPA grade, but yet you'll have to take the class again. No good, right? That stinks. We don't want that. Okay. All right. So I hate to have had to take that much time on that, but I just feel like that with you guys not being with me all the time and students that are virtual are not showing up to class. They're not the only one. I have to say, I've got one or two that have been faithful. And I have one student that even one time he and I had a one-on-one class but I'm just telling you, like, to discuss this literature and stuff, I can't discuss it with myself. I can't ask myself questions. I can't, I can't, and I'm not going to spoon feed it to you. I'm not going to sit on a video and tell you what to think and what to write. I can't do it. You've got to learn how to critically think on your own, but yet you need practice with that before you ever put it on paper. And we also need to be able to ask questions. The live component is super important. Okay, so let me say number 2, just a reminder, CERT juniors, if you haven't finished your CERT, get it finished. The 14th is the deadline for that, so please get that done. Okay, so when I asked you to look at the steps for summary, those were on page 95 in your Patterns for a Purpose. So if we look at page 95 in Patterns for a Purpose, it's all about writing for academic settings. You have to ask yourself, a good clue that writing summaries in high school are different than writing summaries in college. A good clue to that for you is the fact that in this college text, they're showing you step by step how to do it. If they felt like what you did in high school was already good enough and sufficient, it wouldn't be in a college text. Okay, so some of the most important things, if we're looking on page 95, and I looked through this morning, I went through and looked at everybody's summaries, and I just kind of scanned through them, and I do feel like that many of them are a lot better than they were at the last time. We have to make sure, number 1, in a summary, you want the ideas to be in the same order that they were in the original text. Okay, so that's why it asks you to go through and underline the main points and then go back through and start putting it in your own words. And so you should do that in the same order of the original text. Okay, that's one thing. If you're being asked to just do a summary. Why is summary important? Because in college, you use summary in research, of course. However, also, you use summary, guys, when you are asked to do annotated bibliographies, and you're going to be asked to do those a lot. So an annotated bibliography is where you read multiple texts based on a thesis or a question, and then you summarize each of those texts, and then you put all of those summaries together in a document to provide a look at everything you've studied on the topic or on the question. Okay, so that is when doing a summary of an entire work really comes into play, and you have to be able to do it well. Okay, so it asks you to, in the opening sentence of your summary, mention the author's name, the title of the piece you're summarizing, and 1, 2, or 3 of the following: the author's thesis, the author's purpose, or the author's point of view. Okay, so in the first sentence, every single person should have the author's name, the title of the piece, and either the thesis, the purpose, or the point of view. Okay, 1 to 3 of those. You either have one or all. Okay, and it gives you some examples of those. It also tells you that you have to write your summary with present tense verbs. This is in the middle of page 96. Okay, now I will tell you that last trimester I did not go through this. Okay, I didn't go through this. Why? Because most of those students followed this and they had really good summaries. But this time we missed it. I don't know. We missed it the first time. So I'm just going to point it back out. So use present tense verbs with the author's name because the words in the text live on in the present. Okay. And it gives you examples. Following your opening statement, draft your summary by writing out the main points that you underlined or listed. Be sure to express them in your own style with your own wording. This we talked about in one of our first lessons where we were looking at how do I appropriately summarize, how do I appropriately paraphrase, how do I appropriately quote. Okay. All right. Which, by the way, I will say after that lesson, when we had that lesson about we don't quote entire sentences, right? We quote portions, words or phrases. We never quote entire sentences. About half the class still quoted entire sentences throughout the entirety of those first two exercises we did where we answered questions, right? So, there again, not being in live class, not listening to the lesson, not participating in the lesson, completely missed that. And that's a big no-no. When you get to doing research, that's a huge deduction if you're just quoting entire sentences all throughout. Now, you are allowed to take a moment every now and then and quote like an entire stanza or something, like if you're analyzing poetry or you're analyzing, you know what I mean? Something like that. You can do that, but your writing is always based on, you will be given a length. You will be told you have to write this many words or this many, you know what I mean? And you are not supposed to waste words on everybody else's on somebody else's words all the time. When you're putting in quotes, you're taking up word space. And so what happens is that's less space for you to actually have any original ideas. And so what happens is it causes deductions in your writing because you don't have enough of your own original ideas. See? So we want to use them as support. We don't want to use them to take the place of our own work. And that's kind of where that comes from. Okay. Let me close this right here. Okay. All right. And then it tells you use transitions to show how ideas relate to one another. Repeat the author's name with a present tense verb, and it gives you examples. And it says, if you have quoted, be sure you follow the conventions for parenthetical citation. Now, in this book, it says follow the conventions on page 108, chapter 15, but I directed you to the Purdue OWL. Reason being, because this book was printed in 2011, and as I explained in the first couple classes, the MLA version has changed. I provided you a new version on Google Classroom, and I directed you to the Purdue OWL, which has the correct 8th version. This book, textbook, came out when the 7th version, it uses the 7th version. An example of a change that was made between the 7th and the 8th version, and I saw in many of your works cited for the summary this morning as I was looking through the works cited, some of us still are putting print at the end of the citation, and that is not there on the 8th version of MLA. Okay. Now, also in live class previous, I've gone to the Purdue OWL multiple times, but I feel like I've got to go there again. So this morning, when I was looking at the summaries, I noticed that many of us centered the works cited page. MLA guidelines stipulate that the works cited page is not to be centered. The title is to be centered, and then the rest of the work is to be left justified with a and I saw a lot of people were still centering theirs. It also tells you that you are to put your works cited page on a separate page. And I had quite a few people put their works cited on the same page as the summary. These are all like little deductions that you don't want because, you know, they add up, obviously. This Purdue OWL as like your little, handbook. It's like your go to all the time, okay? And it explains ad nauseum everything, like how to do everything, and you just have to follow it. So when you look here, works cited page, basic format, it goes through to do, you know, that you need a hanging indent, and there's also a sample works cited page here on the Purdue OWL as well. I'm presenting my page, but it's not up there, guys. So you might have to look on your computer because it's not showing up there. It has a lag. So as you see there, MLA works cited page, basic rules, and it explains it. Begin your works cited page on a separate page at the end of your paper. It should have 1-inch margins. Last name, page number, header as the rest of your paper. Label this, okay? So you see that it goes through and it tells you step by step. Okay. Most of you did pretty well with the citation. We know that from conversations we had earlier that we have to cite. And let me tell you something. I know that some of you all, you're like, we've heard this multiple times. You have. But I was looking through the work this morning, and this is what I'm still seeing. So I'm having to repeat myself again. And I'm sorry for those of you who got it right. But I we cannot continue to go through losing all these deductions. We just can't. We've got to get this sharpened up. You know, it's kind of like when you're presenting a play or you're presenting a routine of some sort as a cheerleader or whatever. You know, you have to tighten up all the little things, or you lose all these little bitty deductions. So, or if you're like playing in the band, it's all these little things, they add up. Okay. Um, so we are to cite this particular page. I'm looking here at MLA Works Saturday page books. And so if I go there to that page, my computer's just going really slow. I don't know why it's here, but you'll just have to look on your computer. I'm sorry. It's lagging, I guess, or something, because it is not sharing up there like it's supposed to. Okay, so if you look at works page books, you have to go all the way down, because what we're dealing with this book is we're dealing with essays within a collection. So you have to go down until you find a work right here, anthology or collection of essays, and then see under this a work Okay. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Megan and Trey, are you all still with us? We had some connection problems that kind of shut us off. And now we're back on. Okay, great, Megan. I'm glad. Okay, good. Megan says she can still hear us. It cut all of us off. I'm not sure what happened. And I'm fearful of when that was. I don't know how much you heard of what we're doing. So right now, let me go back while they're working. I'm going to, let's see, show you. We're going to go into our classwork, and I have posted live class in the classroom. Under classwork, you'll find a Google Slides presentation, if you haven't already, that we are using right now. All you have to do is click plus inside the slides to add you a slide, and you will do this exercise with us. So let me present that to you. So that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we are using this because one of the things, I don't know if you all heard this, but one of the things that I had said to the group is that when we did our radical revision, I think a lot of us just did editing. We really didn't revise our papers. And so we have so many linking verbs, and we have got to work on having more advanced sentence structures. We've got to work on wordiness. We've got to work on redundancy. Some of us, we have so many words that don't really say anything. I like to call them empty calories. It's like, through the day when you're trying to watch your calories, and there's certain things you don't want to eat because they don't really give you nutrition, but yet they give you a whole lot of calories. Well, we have a lot of that in our writing. We've got a lot of words that are using up our word count, but they're not really giving us any value, okay? So it's kind of like those calories, they're upping the calorie count, but yet there's no nutritional value to them. So one of the big things that we can do to fix that is to work on these linking verbs. We can work to revise by getting rid of these linking verbs. So what I was telling them is, I want you, for English 101, I want you to just act like that these words that I have listed on the slide are the plague. I want you to try to stay as far away from them as possible. I want you to try to get rid of all of them. Now, in the real world, will we ever write with 0 linking verbs? No. However, we are nowhere near being able to understand how we can judiciously use them. We are way overusing them. So we need to go completely in the opposite direction until we learn how it's okay, how to use just a few, because we are using them a lot. So if you look at the first example, I had everybody to look at it. This is from last trimester. I had a student who actually wrote this in her memoir, and then she changed it. And so I just took it and put it on here for you guys as an example. And so her sentences were, the energy is through the roof, the pressure is leadening, the whole season comes down to this one moment, the smell of sweat fills your nostrils, and all you can think about is how terrified you are. Well, she had to fix a couple things there. Number one, she used second person. Your nostrils, all you can think about is how terrified you are, which we can't use those in formal writing in college. So we had to get rid of that. But then notice she's got is, and are. And so, she wanted to go to work on how do I get rid of these. So her modified one that she did, I didn't do this, she did this, is she put the intensified energy, the leadening pressure, the entirety of the season boils down to one moment. The smell of sweat fills my nostrils, but the terror in my heart overrides all of my senses. And so notice how much better these sentences are. They are more complex. They're more academic, just to be honest. The first set of sentences are not awful. They're just fine for a young writer in high school. Well, a young writer in middle school. But the second set of sentences, she's really, upped her game on. So I want you guys to go into your memoirs. I returned those to you because I already have copies. I printed them all out for you and printed them all out for me so that I could grade them in hand. I'm kind of old school that way. So I just went ahead and returned the copy that you had turned in for your final draft so that you can practice revising some sentences, because we really need to work on this. So we've all been adding our slides here, which is good. So I can just look down through and see how we're doing. If you can find 2 or 3 sentences kind of together in your memoir and that have, a linking verb or 2 or 3 in there that maybe you can take a look at together, that you can combine, maybe you can turn the sentences around a little bit, something like that. We are going to work on subordination coming up soon. And so we'll be working on, some different ways to start sentences and revise, making sentences in different structures. But for right now, I just want to see what you can do. I just want you to try to see if you can combine or change the word. Some advice about how do we revise for linking verbs, and this was also in your radical revision document. You can combine sentences. Usually when we do it, the number one way to do it is to take maybe a sentence before, a sentence after, and mush them together, because that helps you come up with a more complex sentence, and it helps you to be less wordy, etc. That's the best way. But you can also, sometimes you can just switch out and put in an action verb. You'll still probably have to tweak a word or two to make that happen. And lastly, sometimes you can just, insert a different linking verb. The ones that we're looking at are the overused ones: am, is, are, was, were, has, have, had, being. But, there are other words that are linking verbs. And sometimes we can just switch those in. Of course, the key being don't overuse anything. Good job. And you're just copy pasting the original over into your doc, into this doc, and then making changes. So when we talk about redundancy, like for example, Sydney, on that one you're working on, you've got so much fun, and then you say it's so much fun having these experiences with her, and I cherish all of them. You know, always be on the lookout for, am I saying the same thing twice, but just with different words? So if you cherish something, don't you probably enjoy it, right? You know, so is it really necessary to say it's so much fun and I cherish them? You see what I mean? Or the other suggestion, Sydney Dare, is if you do say fun, you could also use cherish as an adjective. You could say these cherished experiences. You see what I mean? So just examples. Just you don't have to use anything I say, but I'm just giving you some examples. I'm gonna let y'all work for a few more minutes, and then right before time is up, I need to talk to you about looking forward on something we're going to be doing in the upcoming days. Yes. Well, I mean, look at your circumstances. Abram, have you already put some sentences on here? Let me see where you are. Well, see, like for example, competition came easy to him, yet I just learned to tolerate it. Or while competition came easy to him, I learned to tolerate it. And you could even get rid of an and there. You see what I mean? While competition came easy to him, comma, I learned to tolerate it, period. So that's one example. And that's just one. You don't have to use that one. And then and see that first sentence, I would just flip it around. I would do something like, you know, he won over and over effortlessly. Or oh, I see what you were going to put there. Okay, you could do that. What were you going to say? Okay, but see, found myself. How about just I often felt hurt? That's wordiness. Found myself hurt. Just put, I often felt hurt when he won. Y'all like the woods. I don't know. How about just when he won? Get rid of would. Don't need that. Effortlessly while I struggled to keep up. Good. Go back and get that would out of there. You don't need that. When he won, not when he would won. You know what I mean? Just when he won. Y'all love woods. You need to always, after you write something, you need to look back and see what your favorite word was in the entire writing. Because every single time you write something, I don't know what it is, but we all, as writers, we all do this. When we're writing something, in that instance, while we're writing that one, we'll have a word get stuck in our head and it will stay with us through that whole paper. And it may not be the favorite word the next paper we write. It may just be this paper, this is our favorite word. You know what I mean? Because in this moment, that word got stuck in your head. And so you used it like 50 times. So you have to go back through and say, what was my favorite word in this particular paper? Okay, Jess?
Okay, I'm going through and I'm seeing the word, but I can't figure out a way.
Well, you just need to pick you a couple of sentences, copy paste them into the slide, and then fix them. Have you already copy pasted them? Yeah. You just gotta, you're not gonna know it right away. You're gonna have to take those sentences and look at them specifically. Just pick a couple of sentences, 2 or 3 sentences, pull them out, stick them there on the slide, and just focus on just those sentences for that few moments. Okay? And this is how we learn how to do it when we're looking at our whole paper. Hey. Yeah. No, like I said, Freddie, it doesn't have a grade on it yet. So when you return it to students without a grade, it's going to say missing because it's not turned in. You see what I mean? But no. I already printed them all. Like I said, I've already got yours. I've got them in hand. I've got them in my backpack over there. So, no, that's okay. In Google Classroom, if you turn something in to a teacher, or even if you don't turn it in, if you don't click the turn in button, or if you turn it in and they return it to you, but it's past the due date and it has no grade, it will just say missing. Okay. You all already turned them in. Every single person turns theirs in on time. Okay. So it's good. We're all good. I've already seen they were turned in on time, but I wanted you to be able to work on them, on this version that you gave me. So I just went ahead and returned it to you so you could kind of mess around with it. I've already, just so that you could today while we were in class, I didn't know what access you'd have to your original copy. So I just wanted you to have it there so you could copy some stuff. I'll still go in and, you'll get your grade or whatever, but I've already printed them. So I have copies in hand, hard copies.
It's not letting me.
Okay. Do what? What are you wanting to do?
Like paste and stuff, but
okay.
it's not even letting me
But the way you paste is you have to double click, and then you do that. So where is your work? Here?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are you copying this?
Yeah.
Okay, so you double click. It's slow. Then you copy. And then you go over here. And you don't click.
It's not letting me.
Okay, if it doesn't, then that means it wants you to Control C. And Control V.
It's like it's frozen.
It probably is. It's probably frozen. Let's try it again. Okay, guys. So here before oh, time's up. Time is up. We are going to be doing our first discussion board soon. So I was going to try to talk to you about it for a moment today, but I will just wait and talk to you about it. Control C. Good grief, Jess. Oh, what's going on? This is jacked up, man. It's not liking you very much right now.
Maybe it'll work when I go home.
It'll probably work here shortly. It's just decided at this moment that it's going to be temperamental. And
Let me do anything.
guys, you all can go. I'll see ya. Well,
I'll just try to like get home.
yeah. Okay. All right. So everyone, we have exited class. And so I'm going to sign off. I will post this recording for those who are not here. If you were absent, you need to start making a priority to get here. So if you're sick, of course I understand. If you miss here and there, of course I understand. But we need to, be able to work on things together, and I need to be able to have conversations with you guys. Plus, we're going to be talking about on Friday in live class, we're going to be discussing salvation and the next essay that we're going to be reading. Okay? I hate this mask. I want to smile. Hi. So, but you all have a great day, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay? Thanks.